There is nothing to do but get right to it. I found out a lot of things about you that I didn't know.
What, for this?
No, I knew all the bad stuff, but yeah, for this.
Yeah, you got me out of half of it.
What?
What'd you find out?
I guess I learned more about where you came from musically, which is kind of what the point of this is, because really the first 7 or 8 years of our relationship, we were both pretty inebriated. And
Yeah.
we most definitely are the types of guys that have lived those songs that we sing about. We're going to get a little further into that and stay as serious as we can, being that Ward Davis is my first guest ever on Late August Sessions. So we're going to talk about songwriting. We're going to talk about playing guitar. We're going to talk about how we got started in songwriting, how we got started playing the guitar. Mm-hmm. And that's really where, you know, a lot of our friends and fans know us is we joke around, and we joke around online a lot. There's many layers to us. We are onion type people.
Some of us are onion type people. Others hate onions.
I hate onions. I'm more of a banana. But Ward Davis, thank you, man. In all seriousness, one of my very, very best friends in the world, music aside, but in the music business, probably my best friend in all seriousness. So thank you for being here for the first one of these. You know, I knew you grew up in Monticello, Arkansas, but for some reason I had it in my mind that your family was of musical origin.
Mm-mm. My dad had a guitar that he won in a poker game. It was a Hohner guitar, and he had a harmonica, and he would noodle. But no, Mom, shit, man. Yeah, nobody played music. Dad noodled. He got me and my sister piano lessons when I was 7, and I think I got kicked out of piano lessons when I was 10. Because I wouldn't read the music, I wanted to play by ear. But yeah, there was nothing there except Dad wanted somebody around to play. He would pay me, dude. Did y'all hear me in here last night playing Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
My dad paid me $20 to learn that, so I could play it on demand.
I like it. So he bribed you.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Okay, maybe if my dad would have bribed me, that would have worked, because my dad also bought a piano for the house when I was 7 years old. And I wouldn't touch it. And I wish that I had now, because oftentimes with songwriters and singer type people, it's really the best foundation. And, you know, going to basically piano around 7, writing around 13, start singing at 14. You know, obviously country.
Yeah.
That was
all that was allowed.
That was it.
Mm-hmm. There was a sign. Dude, first of all, like, my dad, you know, he's probably going to come up a lot if we're going to talk about my childhood and my music, because he was, I think he realized when I was a kid, there wasn't, in Southeast Arkansas, there wasn't really a place to play music. There wasn't a honky-tonk or anything, really. And there was no place to go rehearse. So he built a room, and man, they're middle-class people, you know. He built a room on the end of the house so I would have a place to rehearse. And then he commissioned a sign to be painted by my mother that said, "No drinking, no cussing, no smoking, country music only." And that's what it said. So yeah, country music around 9 and never ending.
Yeah, that's how it was when my dad was home. But whenever Dad was gone, it was Mom would throw on the Elton John. And,
oh yeah,
you know,
we would go to Blockbuster, or not Blockbuster. We'd just go rent a movie because we weren't allowed to rent movies when Dad was in town.
Yeah, yeah. You know, obviously having known each other as long as we have, our dads are similar in a lot of ways. Not in that way. My dad actually liked Blockbuster. I don't know, you know.
He still does. Well, he died not knowing we rented and watched Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2.
Well, okay, we know he was cool with the country music. Diamond Rio, 93. How did that come about? Was that father approved?
Dude, so...
And what effect that had on you?
Man, all right, so first of all, you know, there's moments that you've been in the room with somebody and that you've gone, oh, I should go introduce myself or say hello, and you didn't. That Diamond Rio is one of those stories for me because they came and played at the Fine Arts Center at the University of Arkansas at Monticello, which was a mile from my house, which was where I generally rode my bike all the time. So they came there, and the day of the show, after school, I got on my bike, and I rode my bicycle down there, and they were coming off their bus and bringing their, it was right, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks before their second record came out. So the single that was out was called In a Week or Two. You remember that song?
In a week or two.
I was gonna bring you down.
Great song.
Yeah,
Great
it's
song.
great. Golly. But anyway, I went and watched them all unload their shit, and I was sitting up there on my bicycle looking down there, and I didn't go down there. Mm-hmm. But I had some, like, I was on the 4th or 5th row, and dude, it was just, I was such a big fan of country music in general. I didn't care who was going to be there, but it was amazing. And those guys were amazing and are amazing musicians, like, just next level, dude. And so it was, on top of it being cool and current, and they were, you know, it was one of those situations where they got booked there before they really blew up.
Yeah.
So they probably got a really good rate, but man, it was impressive. And they did a meet and greet afterwards. Like, they stood there, and I mean, the whole band, and met every single person that came. And it was probably 1,200 people, dude. It was the biggest thing that ever happened to our town. Yeah.
And they're still going.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great.
Yeah, they are, man. They're one of my, gosh, they were huge when we were kids. You know, we're about the same age, you know. Golly, man. Meet in the Middle dropped, you know, that was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you talk about some singing. There's some singing going on there.
Dude, yeah.
About that time, though, you know, what a great time we had growing up. That was a great time for country music, just in general. You know, I mean, the 80s were great.
And early 90s,
and in the 90s was really, really good. You know, you had, you know, the class of 89 stands out as you know, being one of the greatest classes ever. You know, that's whenever, you know, country really became worldwide at that time.
Garth,
yeah. You know, he was, they were throwing him on TV all over the world at that point. You know, country was on the map.
But dude, it was like, also, when you look at it now, I'm not saying anything bad about like the music now, but when you look back between like 1987 and 1994, like how many Hall of Famers are going to be in that bunch? Like, dude, it was like Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt,
Clint.
Clint Black, like, dude, Pam Tillis, Colin Ray, man, everybody forgets about Colin Ray. Man, that guy was awesome. He had a ton of hits.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Diffie. Like, there was just this crazy, insane amount of legendary stuff. Oh, and the songs were great, too. That's what made me want to do this, was like that period, you know?
Yeah.
And when I go back and look at it, like, those guys knew how to cut great songs. They knew hit songs. They knew great songs.
Well, you know, I would not normally say this, but we're on camera and we're supposed to be pros here. You've had some cuts by some.
Yeah.
I mean, one story in particular we can get to, but I mean, just Willie, Merle, our good friend Paul Cawthon, myself, Wade Hayes, Trace Atkins, Sammy Kershaw, Whitey Morgan. Yeah, man, it's. You know which story I'm probably thinking of, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and go there. You know, Unfair Weather Friend, which you know, you tell a story.
The story of that song is that my friend Marla Cannon and I wrote it many years ago. Her dad is Willie Nelson's producer, Buddy Cannon. And he was looking, they needed a song for Willie Nelson and I think Sheryl Crow. Willie was doing a record called To All the Girls I've Loved Before, and it was all duets with female singers, female groups. And so Buddy also produces Kenny Chesney. And Marla, the day we wrote it, sent it to her dad for Willie, but he was in the studio with Kenny that day, and he played it for Kenny. And Kenny said, "Oh man, I love this song. I want to cut it. Not on this record, on my next one. Would you hold on to it?" And yeah. I mean, we like money. We wanted some Kenny Chesney money, so we said yeah. And so he held it, and they never played it for Willie. And yada, 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 never happened. So Kenny never cut it. So, and Willie had already cut the song with Sheryl Crow. So I think 4 or 5 years later, I heard a rumor that Willie and Merle were going to cut a record together. And I called Marla. I said, "You ought to run that song by your dad again. We'll have to change one line to make it 2 men singing it, you know. But let's send it to him." And he sent it to Willie, and Willie loved it. And they ended up cutting it, which is still surreal to think about, dude. Like, it'll come on my algorithm sometimes. Man, I can't believe it, dude. But they recorded it shortly thereafter. I kind of did that to Music Row and the music business in general, because it was a pissing contest up until that point. And then after that, it was just like, well, now it's just for money. Like, I can go out and play and make money, because you can't make money writing songs in Nashville unless you get on the radio. But anyway, I met you a few months after that. And I think on our 3rd or 4th show, I got a call from Marla. It was the day of Merle Haggard's funeral. And Marla said they just played our song at Merle's funeral per his request. And I walked around the dolly, and I think you were over there smoking a joint or something nefarious. Possibly.
Close. I remember sitting at that outside bar. I think we were at City Limits in Stephenville, Texas.
I saw the worst fight I've ever seen while you were playing that night.
Oh, yeah, we used to have some doozies back then. It was a little rowdier show back then.
Wow.
But I remember you going and talking, coming back, and you weren't pale, but you looked different, you know. And I was like, "What's going on?" You said, "I just found out by request, Unfair Weather Friend was played at Merle's funeral." And I remember just both of us sitting there just being like,
yeah, it
wow.
took the breath out of me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and at that point, you know, neither one of us had really, you know, you had just, like you said, kind of, you know, Music Row can do that. And,
yeah, but I came down there and saw, man, that first show I did with you, like, I knew who you were. Somebody, you know, it's the algorithm had put us together. I don't know, because of facial hair or whatever.
Yeah.
But man, that first night I saw that crowd in front of you. Man, I'd gone to this school of thought where there was nothing outside of the Nashville system. And dude, there were 750 people in the room that night, and there were probably another 100 outside waiting for the ones inside to go out and smoke so they could take their place inside. Mm-hmm. That shit didn't exist. Nobody knew that was happening. And by the time that it grew into what it is, it's too late for them to stop it. That was an eye-opener for me, man. And like, I know how much, dude, that first show, I remember how much merch you sold that night. It was like $2,300. What the fuck? $2,300?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Nashville. Oh man, this is insane. This he's a millionaire. He's making $2,300 on t-shirts. That's impossible. Like, that doesn't. So I had that happen, man. But what I saw happening for you was a total like, holy shit, this is possible. This is not, I don't have to do that.
Well, I remember those days, and I remember even back then, I heard your songs and I really liked what you did. And, we'll get into song specific because obviously 15 years in a 10-year town was my first sample size of what you did. But, we had gotten to the point to where we had banged our heads against the wall in Texas for so long, and Nashville really didn't want us as either. And, you had a publishing deal for a long time and you just got fed up with all of it. And we kind of found each other in that, but the songwriting was really, we knew we liked each other, but back then I hadn't done a lot of co-writes, but I heard what you did and I was like, man, I like this guy's song. And that's really when the writing for me and you started, was because you didn't have a lot out at that time. And frankly, I didn't either, because
you had records out there.
I had 2, 3 out.
Yeah, but I had one that I'd put together on a shoestring budget that, when we got together, so you've been doing this, you've been grinding it out. And I'd been grinding it out too, but what you had been, it was 2 totally different. There was some like nobility in what you were doing, and I was trying to play this stupid game in Nashville. And dude, I can say that I did that to Music Row, or that even that they did it to me, but I probably did more of that to myself. Like I punched the head of the VP of Universal in the face because he insulted me at a party one night. Like, that's stupid. Like, I know better than that.
Is that your biggest hit to date?
But chink, no, I'm not the devil. Thank you. But it was for a long time. It was the next morning, dude. Everybody in town got an email with a picture of his face and the story underneath it. And there's a scar from his glasses. And dude, that fucked me up for a long time. And man, I got nobody to blame for that but me.
Yeah.
So Nashville's whatever. They're ass. It's an asshole system, but it'll make an asshole out of you.
Let's talk a little bit about before you got to Nashville. I don't know if say going to Nashville was the thing to do. When did you know that you could do this? When did you know that going to Nashville or whatever it would have been was the right time to do it? Was it early when you started writing, or was it later in your teenage years? Because I know you were playing Opries, you were playing whatever, shindigs and hoedowns and all kinds of.
Well, I got forced into a situation. The mindscape, the small town mentality to not leave that small town is pretty strong where I'm from. You're born there, you're pretty much there your whole life. There's a lot of that there, and there's nothing wrong with that. What happened to me was I got out. I don't know how popular I was. I was fairly popular around town. I was a kid that sang. I sang at the county fairs and shit. But after high school, I had scholarships to go to the college there, UAM, and at UAM, I met all these guys from Texas. Randy Rogers, you remember that little asshole that I bring around sometimes? I hope he watches this so he hears me call him an asshole. You know how many tickets that guy's bought to my shows? 0. Anyway.
Different Randy Rogers?
Not the same Randy Rogers. A Randy Rogers.
A Randy Rogers.
Not the Randy Rogers. But anyway, I met Randy Rogers and a couple other guys from down around Dallas. And man, they had this Charlie Robinson CD, the Life of the Party. Mm-hmm. And they had this Robert Earl Keen, the Live No. 2 Dinner, mm-hmm. recorded at Floor's Country Store, where you and I met.
That's right.
And I didn't know that shit existed. And so after 2 years of wasting the taxpayers' money on frat parties and field parties and making trips back and forth to Randy Rogers, or with Randy Rogers to the liquor store with his fake ID, I ended up dropping out or getting put on academic suspension. But also, Randy called while I was on academic suspension and said, Charlie Robinson is playing at Billy Bob's in July. You ought to drive down here and go to the show. I said, all right. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to see Charlie Robinson at Billy Bob's. Now, wasn't going back to college the next semester. I was going to take a semester off. And I went down. His dad said, don't do it. You're going to regret it. It'll be fine. I'll have a good time. So we go down there. Me and A. Randy Rogers go around and drink our balls off. And me and A. Randy Rogers go to Billy Bob's to see Charlie Robinson. And A. Randy Rogers hands me a beer. I was 20 years old. And I turned around and there was ATABC agent with a thing and a finger pointed at me and doing that. And so they took me back in this room at Billy Bob's that I actually found last weekend when I played the big stage.
Yeah.
I made some smart ass. I could have gotten out of it, but I made some smart ass comment to the cop. He kept writing the ticket. And I got back to Arkansas, and I had a bullshit job working at a butcher shop. And I asked my dad if I could borrow the money, and he looked at me to pay off this ticket. And he just looked at me like I was stupid and didn't even say yes or no. Just didn't answer at all. I didn't know what to do, man. I mean, it was like, I think it was going to be about $1,200. But I knew this guy that I'd worked every summer for since I was 14. His name was Gary Margolis, and he was a tomato broker. And every summer he would come occupy a warehouse or a shed in Monticello, Arkansas. He lived in Florida, and he would buy tomatoes from the farmers there. And he hired me to take them off trucks or take them off trailers, put them on trucks, put them on pallets, put them on trucks. But after he left Arkansas, he'd go to Michigan, and he always needed workers. So I called him and I said, hey, Gary, I need some work. I got this ticket to pay off. And he said, all right. He said, I'll pay you $350 a week, and I'll put you up at the Red Roof Inn and buy all your meals. He even bought me a pair of sneakers because I was on my feet a lot. But anyway, after I got my $1,200 saved up and paid off all the bullshit, I had a little left over, and I'd already left Arkansas, like I'd already left Monticello, so it wasn't like I was leaving again. I was just like, fuck it, man, I'll just go to Nashville, see what's up. And I've given up 20 times since then, but I never really quit.
So is that your method? Because that was my next question. Is your method just to start and then get fed up and then give up and then start and get fed up and give up? Yeah,
dude. I mean, I've given up 50,000 times. Like we have these things that happen. These things that happen that aren't a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Maybe not. They are a big deal, but it's not like monetarily. Like, that Sammy Kershaw cut you were talking about was on his least selling record of all time. I mean, it was, you couldn't even find it for years after it came out. But man, at the time, I mean, nobody bought that record. Like, I mean, nobody bought that record.
Yeah.
But man, what a moment for me. Like, that was my first cut, and I was already just looking for a pistol to suck on, but didn't have any money to buy one. So I needed it. Mm-hmm. And those little things, and it wasn't always the song. Sometimes it was, Steve Warner hired me to sing some demos for him one time.
Yeah.
Shit, man.
Yeah, a lot of us did that.
Yeah, but it was so cool, and it was so just needed for that thing to go, because what we do is constantly question whether we're good enough, Mm-hmm. And I still do, but when those things happen, it's like, okay, maybe I am. Maybe I am good enough. Maybe I should keep going a little bit further and see if this works out.
Well, and that leads to another question that, and our staff has helped a lot with the questions on this, and the vulnerability that you have in feeling like that, you put that into your songs, obviously, and it's very evident in your releases, all of your releases, that being there. Can you be too vulnerable, or is that part of your process? Is what,
I keep some stuff for me, like, man, when I write, I try to be as human as possible. And I wasn't always that. I wanted to do that, but at the end of the day, making money was the point. And at some point, I stopped trying to make money when I wrote. And that's when when it all comes from inside of me. Like, that was the moment Man, dude, it's Skeptic's Prayer, and
Yeah.
you told me earlier you want to talk
touch
about
on that song in particular, yeah.
But man, that kind of honesty it's difficult. I didn't play, when I wrote that song, I didn't play it for anybody for several years.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, we all have the same feelings. Like, you know what, dude? And I'm not picking on you, and please don't take this as an insult, but you've never been divorced.
I'm not insulted at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But the truth of it is, every feeling that I've felt up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you understand that, and like, and you could stand back and look and go like, oh, I understand what it feels like to hurt and to wish things were better between me and my wife. Everybody that's been married feels that. So all I'm adding to that is like, oh, this is what it feels like when it doesn't work and it sucks. So.
Well, and there's a lot of that in your music. What would be, in your opinion, one of the toughest songs that you've written and recorded? Because so much of your writing is personal. A lot of it has had to do with, Skeptic's Prayer, No Going Home. I mean, we all know what that's about. 15 years in a 10-year town. The Overpass, that's one of the saddest songs you've ever written, in my opinion. Black Cats and Crows, a song that you and I and Tennessee Jet wrote together. Did they become too vulnerable to where you change it? Your stuff's out there. Heart on your sleeve type of thing.
So is yours.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Tell 'Em What It's Like back?
Yeah.
It's, dude, that is our therapy. When you go through things, you're the only one in the room with it. And then you leave with it for a room with people who have paid to come hear you play and know your songs and know your life and think that they know everything about you. When you walk back into that loneliness, it's 50 times more lonely. You know that. Like, it's just like, it's like coming down off a drug. It's 20 times worse. And man, I've written my most vulnerable shit on the day after I got home from a good and drunk, man. I came in from that Sunny tour. Nobody, man. Nobody knows what a nobody I am. Man, I'd been somewhere with you. Rachel's house, it used to be our house that I no longer lived in. I didn't have a place to live. I was living in the garage. And I'm sitting there with this newborn baby with a full diaper, screaming because she wants to be fed, feeding her, and then getting off, putting her down to sleep, and then getting on my Facebook, and here's all these people talking about what a great guy I am, what a super duper everything. And I was just like, you people have no fucking idea how shitty it is to live inside of myself and pretend to be the guy that you think that I am.
Wounded mind?
Yes. And I know that everybody feels the same way about things.
Yeah.
And for me, I can get it out, and I don't have to feel like such a fraud. I don't have to feel like a liar. I don't feel like I'm having to hide something.
Yeah.
And I don't like carrying shit around with me like that. It's hard. So I just write it out.
Writing those and getting them out. Yeah, that is the name of the game. But is there a song specifically that you can look back and be like, yeah, that was really tough to record? Was it Nobody, or because I can look back and think there were songs in particular that was very difficult not only to write but to actually record without tearing up.
It was Skeptic's Prayer, dude.
Yeah.
That song broke my heart.
Yeah. That song in particular, when you and I first started playing music together, and we became pretty quick friends, and my dad and mom got into your music, and as they do with singers and songwriters that I become friends with and go out and play, and my dad calls me and he asked me about that song in particular, and I said, yeah. I said, I get it. He goes, well, what do you think about it? And I said, well, I think that that's a sign of a very honest songwriter. And if nothing else, if you're not walking out and pulling your pants down, so to speak, is I guess the easiest way to put it, you're doing yourself and your listeners and justice. So, you know, kind of in answering one of my own questions a while ago, there are things that sometimes, like you said, you keep some things to yourself. There are some things that, you know, maybe you change a song, you change one part of it, you change the name, you change something, you know, to keep. Because, like, we give so much of our stuff, of ourselves in our songs, and our lives are, tell them what it's like. Our lives are such an open, you know, which Rebecca, my wife, you know, you stayed at my house 100 times, and, you know.
Yeah, she told me about you curled up on the floor crying before you put it in the song, you know?
Yeah,
Like...
yeah. It's very fun to live with me.
Yeah.
Many times, you know. So, you know, that's the name of the game, man. And which kind of goes into, would that be your advice for songwriting? And is that how you measure your success as a songwriter? Because people come up to you and say the same things that they do to me and to any other songwriter that is able to evoke what it is that music evokes in us.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the same things.
Yeah. I feel the same things. Like, what was the question again?
Well, you know, would you say that would that be a way that you measure your success as a songwriter?
Dude, well, like, man, I've evolved a lot. I mean, you know, I quit drinking 3 years ago. So, like, I don't carry that shame with me anymore. Like, and you want to talk about evoking, man, nothing evokes shame like a hangover, like a really, really bad one when you did stupid shit the night before you don't remember, like fell off the stage or fell in the bushes or fell into whatever, a lot of falling. But, fell into a van one time.
Fall into vans, fall out of vans.
Yeah, I was a van faller. But I always say be honest when you write, but I mean, sometimes you got to make shit up. Like it's artistic license or whatever. But man, I had this publisher, my first publisher in town, his name was Tom Collins. And Tom was a legend, is a legend. He was notoriously successful. He was amazing. He signed Dean Dillon to his first publishing deal. I went into his office one day and I played him a song. He said, nah. He said, no, nobody, nah, don't play that for anybody. I said, why not?
Not only I don't like it, don't play it.
Yeah, it's terrible. And he said, nah. He's like, Ward. He said, nobody wants to hear a song about you. They want to hear a song about themselves. Tom didn't write songs. He was a publisher. He was a businessman. He wore a tie all the way up to his neck every day. But he was right, man. Nobody wants to hear songs about you. They want to hear songs about themselves. They want to hear songs about the guy sitting next to them or the girl sitting next to them. That's what they relate to, you know?
But how many times have people come up to you? Because I know they do with me too, and they come up and, you know, we hear the same things. You know, you've been following me around. You're writing about my life.
Yeah,
you know, as well, because I'm writing about mine. And like you said a while ago, everybody has the same emotions. Everybody has the same things. We're the ones that are blessed enough to be able to write it down and somebody go, I've been trying to say that for years. Or
how about when they tell you that when they come up and say, man, this song means this to me because it's about this. And you're like, oh, that's not what it's about. And they're like, well, yeah, it is. And then you listen to their story and then go back and listen to your song. And that song actually does apply to what they're saying. Like, dude, I had this song called I Live to Live a Lie Another Day. And it was about being in love with this girl and basically being married to my ex-wife, Rachel, and being in love with my ex-wife, Natalie, but trying to work it out with Rachel while I was still in love with Natalie. And it was hard, but I was just staying away from her. And this guy comes up to me one night and says, man, Live a Lie's my song, man. It's my song. And I was like, uh-oh, sounds like you got in some trouble, huh? And he was like, no. He said, man, actually. He said, you see that girl over there? And I said, yeah. He said, that's my girlfriend. He said, I love her, Ward. She's wonderful. He said, she's wonderful. He said, my wife died 2 years ago. He said, I love that woman. He said, but every night I lay down with her, I wish it was my wife.
Oh,
and he
man.
said, it has nothing to do with her.
No, it doesn't.
I just wish it was my wife because I loved her. She was my wife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I was sitting here thinking this guy was like being an asshole like I was.
Sure.
And then it's heavy, man. That shit's heavy.
But that is what that song meant.
Yeah.
Golly. Yeah, that's it. That's how you know you're doing your job, man. I think. Do you believe in writer's block?
I don't know. Sometimes I'm just too down to get it out, or I'm too up to get it out. Like there has to be some kind of middle where I'm confident enough to create, but also not overly enough to think that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know?
As many songs as we've written together, I think they've all been recorded. Because you strike me as, and I know that you know, through your own releases, you know, your percentage of what gets laid down is probably pretty significant because you write a lot, but you record most of what you write.
I don't write a lot. I'm writing more now.
Yeah.
You know, just been in a kind of a headspace for a little while where I just didn't feel like writing. I didn't feel like, I didn't have time, and I didn't have, my mind wasn't quiet enough for it.
Yeah.
It is now.
Yeah.
And I'm writing out, getting a lot out right now.
More by yourself or more co-writing?
More co-writing than before. And I think that's, man, dude, the last song I wrote by myself, it took me 3 months.
Yeah.
Every bit of 3 months.
Yeah.
And I don't have that kind of time. I'd rather get somebody in the room with a brain and just thump it out, you know?
Do you overthink them now? Because
No, I'm a perfectionist, man. Like, once it's done, it's done. I'm like, maybe I do overthink it, but like, the last song that I finished writing is called Need to Be Still. And
great song.
Every chorus, there's not really a chorus, there's a big bridge, but every verse and the bridge end with the hook, Need to Be Still. And it was so important to me that before that line, Need to Be Still, that there need to be a mention of some sort of a movement, like a physical movement, even though it's like a metaphor, Need to Be Still.
Yeah.
I wanted to, and I was running out of shit, and I just couldn't come up with it, and I couldn't come up with it.
Is that line I'm thinking about that you toiled over for?
I did, so that was the first one I toiled over.
About blurring the...
Nah, it was, for all we've talked about, they're just things we won't find out, because I'm leaving even if against my will, because staying would mean leaving, and I'm staying, so I need to be still. Like it's, but then the end of it was, anyway, hopefully that song will be out by the time that we release this.
Yeah.
And I won't have to explain it, but yeah, it's nice. Like I like it. I think the last song you and I wrote took 3 days, but it was like an hour a day for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that, you know, I used to not co-write a lot. I did most of my records on my own, and then I developed a lot of friendships with really, really, really great writers, which is why I'm inspired to do this now, you know, songwriters on songwriters and talking about the whole thing, because I know some of the best in the business now. You know, hopefully I get to interview one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days.
But, you know, it's...
Well, but dude, also, like, do you remember when we were writing Colorado? And, again, one of those divorce songs that I really have all of the field research on that you need to write them.
Yeah.
And we're writing, and I think I said the line, I look back to when we carved our names in marble on an aspen, blah, 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 blah. And I said, but we can't say marble. And you said, why not? I said, because nobody's going to know what it is. It's a town called Marble, but when you say carved our names in marble, people are going to think you had a chisel and a hammer and you're carving your name in. And you go, where'd it happen? And I said, Marble. And you went, It's fucking marble.
Well, because I
You're
like,
right.
but I liked the imagery of the, because
You liked it to be confusing.
I like it to be multifaceted. I think it makes it more interesting. And at that time though, because we wrote that song years ago, we wrote it in the back of my bus in Louisville, Kentucky. And you were going through a difficult time there. And I remember the song being difficult to write, but I was like, dude, you got to think of the imagery. It did happen in marble. And then for somebody, it may be that song takes them to a physical thing.
Dude, we are big shit. You and I, not like, seriously, dude, we could commit murder in marble. And there's only 80 people there. So they would definitely notice if somebody got murdered. But I'm not saying we should go do murder.
No.
I'm just saying they really like us in marble.
One of these days, we should go to Marble and play a show.
It's beautiful.
They love us in Colorado, though. We all do very well in Colorado.
We need to edit out all this because everybody's going to find out about marble, and then we won't be able to go.
Yeah.
There'll be people everywhere.
No.
There'll be condos and...
Well, it's happening anyway, buddy.
Last time I was there, a bear snorted at me in the dark. I just ran. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it happens.
I'm talking about something else, not the bears.
Shift gears just a little bit. Is there one of your songs that you have to play every night that you go, I know I have to play this song. Let's just get this ass whipping over with? Or is it just all of them?
It's probably, yeah.
Is it all of them?
Oh, God, not another show. Oh, these people, what do they want now? No, it's, no. And here's what I've done is I've taken those songs out of my set. The ones that I play, dude, I don't do a ton of what we wrote of your songs, but I do, like, man, I always do I'm Not the Devil. I always do Same Kind of Crazy.
Yeah. And
I always do Hurt You. And man, Hurt You because the crowd loves it. Same Kind of Crazy because it's us. And I'm Not the Devil because it's just so special to me, and I love playing it. Yeah. I love it, man. Every night, everybody knows the words.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's that song is as special to me as Unfair Weather Friend in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because of that, because that was the first time that, when we wrote it and you put it out and I was touring with you and everybody was singing it, like, dude, that was all I ever dreamed about in my life, was for people to hear something that I did and like it and sing it, and
yeah,
there it was.
We've told the story a million times. I've told the story a million times, maybe on stage or just talking with other friends. But when we wrote I'm Not the Devil, I'm Not the Devil is the first song that we wrote together. We were out at the Sonic Ranch in Tornillo, Texas, and you and I hadn't been friends for too terribly long by that point. We had discovered that we enjoyed playing with one another. And then we discovered that, I liked your writing, you liked my writing, and the show worked well. You flew to El Paso, we drove to Tornillo, and there was a day that my band was in the studio recording and doing some auxiliary stuff that I didn't need to be in there for. And you and I had commissioned ourselves to write a song, and we goofed off all day long. We drank all day long.
Fired our drummers.
We both fired our drummers on the same day. Our drummers from a long, long time ago. This is years and years ago.
Good guys, but
yeah, but
needed a change.
Greener pastures. So we were going through a lot. In the music business, kind of our paths were really, really different, but we were kind of in the same place, and we kind of belonged to nobody but ourselves. And we were supposed to write this song. We sat on the porch of this house that we were staying in and just goofed off really all day long. And everybody was kind of wondering if we were going to get anything done. And we didn't until we did. And then we ended up writing that song in about 45 minutes after somebody had come over and said, are you guys doing anything? Are we going to, what is this? And we were like, yeah, we've got it. And they didn't believe us, I don't think. I don't think that they thought, we
were almost done.
We had a song or it was going to be good.
Man, it goes back to Skeptic's Prayer. That my dad had a real problem with that. And I used to have these.
My dad did too.
I would have these fake conversations with him. And one day I was driving home from Nashville drunk, or at least had been drinking. And I was having one of those imaginary conversations with him out loud. And I said, I'm not the devil you think that I am. Because he thought it was just demonic that I would ever question anything to do with the Bible or my faith or anything. But so that was where, and I knew there was a waltz idea, and I knew that you liked waltzes. And all I had was the hook and just kind of a bunch of mumbling.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we should write it about a girl. And you were like, we're not writing it about a girl. We're not writing it about anybody. We're writing it about whoever the fuck listens to it. You were like, we're not putting it in any
I remember,
box.
Yeah, we don't need, and that was at that time, we don't need to pigeonhole what the sin was. Like, because you could listen to the song.
And I just went along with it because I was like, fine, your record, whatever. Change it later.
He's stuck in his Nashville ways where he had everything has to be this. Oh man, I remember that thinking, dude, there are no rules. You don't have to go verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out. You can go verse, chorus. You can do whatever you want, But
fuck chorus.
I remember, having that conversation with you. It's like, nobody should really know what the sin is, man. Just whatever it was. Because obviously listening to it, you would probably think infidelity. But at that particular time, obviously, Skeptic's Prayer had come out. Your dad questioned that song. My father questioned that song whenever you and I first started playing together. Now, flip side of that coin, is there a song that you play every night that you really look forward to?
Time to Move On.
Time to Move On.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Petty song?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I just love that song.
Yeah.
It's fun, and it means... Man, I love when people come up to me, and so do you. We love when people come up and give us a meaningful moment of your music means this to me because blank. Because we get it. And man, that song, it ain't mine. I recorded it and I put it out because I loved it and I love playing it. And I just noodled around in the studio one night and we did it. But man, that song means so much to me. And even as life keeps going, everything, not just wives and not just business partners and shit like that, but man, sometimes it's just time to go. Mm-hmm. And that song means that to me. And I love playing it, and I love remembering that no matter what, I can get away from any problem I have.
Yeah, well, y'all do a great job on that song. You did a great job on the song recording it. And I remember where you were maybe in your headspace whenever you cut that song, and it was a right move then.
No.
It wasn't a right move to cut that song then?
No, to cut it maybe, not to bust up my family.
All
that shit that I did that I wish I hadn't had.
Oh, no, I was not inferring that.
Shit.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
Is writing at this point in your career, is it just necessary to still fulfill what you do, or is it more or less of a job than it used to be because you don't have to write for a publisher anymore?
It's for my kids. It's for I'm able to do that. Yeah, the purpose is different. Yeah, it's a job. Yeah, it's an investment. It's my time. It's my life. It's my career. It's it's my kids' inheritance. Intellectual property, man. That publishing on the songs that we write now, that stuff's important to me now, and it never was before. It was just songs. Yeah. I didn't care about it, but now I look at it as like, man, this is the same as land for my kids, and so I want to be successful and I want to work and do it for them, but also, yeah, man, like I don't have to behold to a publisher or a record label unless I have to, and if I wanted to, I'd define my own terms and shit like that. Like I don't have to have anybody in a suit telling me what to do anymore.
That is a rarity in this business. And you were, and I tell people a lot, it's the way you do things is very similar to the way I do things. And in terms of publishing and masters and keeping that as close to you as you can, it's imperative. It's not what you have in the bank. It's not what your bank account says, because like you said, it's land. It's like, that's where the worth is. That's why big record labels try to, get as much of that percentage of all those records as they can, because that's their revenue into perpetuity, So like you said, for your kids and go ahead.
Well, yeah, man. And like, dude, man, when I met you, when we wrote I'm Not the Devil, I remembered something about that day that you may not remember. You told me that you had gotten the biggest check that you'd ever gotten, and that you'd written the biggest check that you'd ever written. And you told me what both of those amounts were. And they were a lot, but they were checks that just about any small business owner in America would end up having to write at some point. Like, as far as like the peak of their growth. So at that time, like what I knew of where you were gonna go, I had no idea. I was just writing songs with a guy I liked. A guy for what was I, free trip to El Paso? But I didn't know that this movement was going to take place. I didn't know that you were going to go playing stadiums. I didn't know that shit was going to happen.
We didn't either.
They were just songs that I was writing with my buddy. And then all of a sudden, it's intellectual property. And I need to protect this for my children. This is important. What he is doing is going that in perpetuity. And that's going to go on forever. And man, that shit's when stuff like that happens and you're a part of it, it is important to be mindful of it, at least,
Yeah.
But I'd be tickled if, you'd gone to dog shit too. I'm just glad we're still friends.
Yeah, me too. After all of that. All right. This is not a loaded question. It's a two-part question. Who is your favorite person to co-write with, and who's your favorite writer all time? So they can be as short or as long answers as you want. And who would you like to co-write?
It's like when I asked Josh this morning what his favorite movie was. He was like, "What genre?" Now I'm sitting over here like songwriter. My favorite.
Whatever you want to answer, Ward Davis.
Dude, I think the greatest singer-songwriter in country music of all time cannot be refuted, should not ever be questioned or argued or even mentioned that it's anyone other than Merle Haggard as the greatest country music singer-songwriter. He was both, and he was everything.
No arguments from me.
Hungry Eyes, Mama's Hungry Eyes. Man, just songwriter, probably Bob McDill. Like, he just, of that time period and of his catalog, the songs he wrote, man, were just that human thing, man.
Yeah.
And, like Good Old Boys Like Me. Bob McDill understood human beings and knew how to write songs about him.
So who's your favorite person to co-write with, and who would you love to co-write with?
God bless America, man. You're my favorite person to write with. Only because I have no problem telling you no, and you have no problem telling me no when we're writing. Like, if I say, hey, it should be this, you can say, hey, no, it shouldn't. And I don't get my feelings hurt, and I fight the battles I fight in there, and so do you. Like, it's easy to write songs with you, even when we're not accomplishing anything. But
yeah, it's easy because when I co-write with people, I just straight out the bat, I'm like, I'm like, hey, you know, how funky you want to get, how dark you want to get, how vulnerable you want to get. And like, we might end up crying over this sumbitch. I don't know. But I think that's why we've always been able to write well together, is because it's.
Well, I know you, like, I know you, you know me, like, yeah. But
who do you want to write with? Who would you love to sit down and write a song with that you haven't? Anybody, past, present.
Anybody that's like dead or.
Sure, just who would you have loved? Probably Merle.
I don't know, man. I'd probably lean more into Bob McDill on that.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, Bob's one of my songwriting heroes. Merle is one of my all-time heroes. I think I could live with losing Bob McDill as a hero. I don't think I could deal with losing Merle Haggard as a hero. And if he were an asshole, it would just break my heart.
Well, okay, and I know we're winding down, but tell the story about whenever you got to talk with Merle about, because whenever you asked him about recording another song of yours.
Well, no, his Buddy Cannon was producing a solo record on him, a record that I don't think's come out. It was about 8 months before he died, but Buddy texted and said, man, you ought to come downtown. If you want to meet Merle, today's the day. He feels good. He's here. And I had the original chart from when they recorded Unfair Weather Friend, and I had Willie signed it, but I wanted Merle to sign it too, so I took it down there. And man, I'll never forget walking in the studio and looking. He was in the booth, in the vocal booth, and I could see him through the window. And he was so pale, and he was just hunched over, and he was just tiny, and he looked just ill. And then they hit the button, and he started singing, and it was just Merle fucking Haggard, all of it. And it was perfect, and it was beautiful. And he sang it once and came in, and I met him. And we had lunch. He went off and got really, really stoned on his bus and came back. And I had my chart, and he was doing pictures and signing shit. And I pulled that chart out, and he saw Will. He said, he looked at me. He said, it's going to be worth a lot of money someday. I said, it's worth more than money to me, Mr. Haggard. I just, it means a lot. And he said, he signed it. He said, I'll cut another one of your songs. I went, oh, yeah? He said, yeah, if you ever write another one that good. Fuck, thanks, Merle. Jesus.
Yeah.
But, hey, man, I'm telling you, every time I hear it, I just go, how am I that lucky? Like, Jesus, that's insane.
I was going back and I was listening to your catalog, everything you've released, and I'd made a list of everything that we've written together. Everything that we've written together has been recorded. Most of it's been released. We have one that we wrote last year that I'm going to release next year. But listening to your catalog, you quit drinking about 3.5 years ago, almost 4, somewhere around there.
Just a little over 3.
And you sent this song to me, and the song that I'm referring to is called Day One. Mm-hmm. And you've released it. You sent this song to me after you had been sober just over 2 months. I haven't heard that song since I quit drinking 13 months ago. So I saw it with brand new eyes and heard it with brand new ears. And that's kind of going back to what we were talking about. It meant something to you, and then it meant something to me when you sent it, but now it means something completely different.
Mm-hmm. It meant something to you because of me when I sent it to you, but now it means something to you because of you.
Right.
When you listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that was just balls to the wall is what it felt like, And I'm proud of you for not drinking too, man. And I know it's hard every day, but yeah, it's just a song about every day is just a little bit better than the day before.
Yeah.
Until you don't really notice it, and I don't know. That was another one of those songs. It was just kind of therapy. Me and Greg Jones wrote it.
Yeah.
Greg's another one, man. He's one of my favorite co-writers. We hadn't written one in a long time, but he was.
Greg Jones, same kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I could
Which
always.
we released at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, but I could always dump it out on the floor with him. And man, quitting drinking, just not mentally and physically, it's just kind of difficult. And it's hard to break that routine, and it's hard to not have that social lubricant and that thing that makes you feel like, okay, I'm blending in now. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, everybody's drinking. I'm just standing here with my hands in my pockets. And, you know, you don't feel right in your skin, and but you get used to it. And it gets better and better until you just whatever.
Yeah. I think it's easier. All right. So this is a list. I wrote down a list of songs that we that we wrote together. And I'm Not the Devil. I play. You still play. Roll.
I play it sometimes. I haven't in a while.
I've never played it live. Wounded Mind, I have played live.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
On acoustic shows, for sure.
Same Kind of Crazy. Normally we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday Again, we wrote that with Josh Morningstar.
Man, I never do that one. That's when we wrote it, that was, I just kind of knew it wasn't mine when we wrote it. That was yours. So we wrote it for you.
Colorado, both of us have done live.
Sometimes I do that. I get requests for that all the time.
I do too.
That's probably my most requested song.
I get requested for it a lot.
Shit, we should cut that one too.
I know. Big Last Name we wrote with Paul Cawthon.
Yeah, I don't do that one anymore. I should. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It's just kind of hard to... Dude, do you remember that show we did in... It was the Christmas show where Paul kind of crashed it, I think. I mean, maybe it was supposed to be the three of us, but I do remember a moment on stage where you and I were out there, and he was supposed to come out and do a song towards the end.
Yeah.
And apparently he just changed his mind and said, I'm going to come on at the beginning instead. And so he just whipped out there and did the whole show with us. But except he and I got really, really drunk.
I don't remember. That was back when I was really, really drunk.
And we were all going to do Big Last Name together. And me and Paul were having to look up the lyrics on the internet on stage. And still fucked it up. And you were in the mic saying, that's not the words, guys.
Well, I'd been used to playing it live.
Yeah,
I've been playing it live.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I played it since then. I remember the words now.
And I just got the sign. We're about out of time. But Hurt You, I opened this tour we were on last year.
I closed with it.
I opened with it. Black Cats and Crows, You Me Tennessee Jet.
I do it every night.
Worst Messes is the song that we're going to release this year, man. So
that's going to be strong, dude.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
I think that's seriously, dude, that's the strongest song we've ever written. I don't know if it's I don't know if it'll have the commerciality but man, that's tough, dude.
Yeah. It's a great song. I can't wait to put it out. I can't wait to put
it. It should be a single.
Because it's kind of like the Brighter Light companion piece to Black Cats and Crows, really. You know. All right, this actually went by a lot quicker and with way less shenanigans than I thought you and I were capable of.
Yeah, I kind of, I didn't want to talk about you shaving your head again.
Let's talk about your bald spot.
Which one?
Nah, whatever. Thank you so much. This is a songwriter's show about songwriters, by songwriters, for people that like to nerd out about songwriting and all things.
Yeah, thanks for letting me do this, man. This is awesome.
Thank you for being my first guest, my guinea pig, my dear friend, my brother, we're kind of each other's therapists. We have our little 2 or 3 days a week, our little sober meetings in the morning on the phone.
Correct.
Yeah. So thank you for being all those things. And just the good old Ward Davis that we all love. We're going to do a couple of songs, so we're going to break for that. We're going to get set up for that. But thank you to Ward Davis. Thank you.
The Academy.
I don't know if I'm a member of that or not.
You're not. You remember? We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah,
you didn't even know there was one.
Association. I'm not. My name's Cody Jinks, and you've been watching Late August Sessions, and we will see you next time.
I'm not the devil you think that I am.